Hello and welcome to another episode of Atelier by Petra TV. I'm here today with Matthew Petty again, with the creator and founder of Practitioner Leadership Academy and New Earth Abundance Movement. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Petra. Great to be here again.
It's nice to have you back. We have developed the conversation about ideas and everything that comes with it. Today, I would like to discuss the vision and why behind why people actually act on the ideas, and what is the deep motivation. Why is it so personal that they go and pursue it and do things that are totally out of their depth and very intimidating?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think quite deeply, if we start there, and those of you that know Joseph Campbell's work, about the hero's journey, we find ourselves, when we find ourselves in business, it is always good to reflect that business is an entity. It is an extension of us. So who we are is what we bring into business. And so anything unfulfilled or unexpressed in our personal life will be revealed in our business. So quite often what we find with our ideas, we want to move them forward in the world from an intrinsic and an extrinsic point of view. We want to gather energy and contribute and share. Creatives are very, very heart-centered. They're often maybe a little bit recluse at times, a little bit protection-orientated of their ideas or of themselves for fear of judgment. But when you find yourself right in the center of your creative genius, then you want the world to light up. You really want, eyeballs to dilate and hearts to expand and just to make the world more beautiful, or to make a statement. It really is a personal element. That's the external element. The internal element is about validation. Quite often there is a beautiful aspect of me that I want to birth.
That's a big one, isn't it, for creatives?
Yes.
Especially?
Yes. Yeah. So validating that I am whole, validating that I am creative, I am genius, I am bright. And that is without judgment, because we can validate that. We can look at all the things that you feel you are and that you contribute to yourself and your world. And there are so many great things. So an idea gives us a pinhole in the canvas of life that we can enter into and explore more, as I point my finger deep in there.
I never heard that metaphor, but I love it, because it's like a black hole, isn't it? It's like opening into another universe that you can just then build on, and it's endless flow of
Yes.
depending how open you are to ideas and people, and also being brave enough to be surrounded by people who are better than you, and not be intimidated by it.
Well, that's the other thing as well. Those that are great at writing, so their penmanship, you can have, what is it, a pseudonym, or you can have a writing name. So, but what we do with our physical bodies and our appearance is quite often we have history. So we show up and people go, oh, that's Petra, or oh, that's Matt, or they go and they're curious about our physical, about our physical identity. So the creative side of us can be delivered through a meme or through some sort of other avenue with a different name, and you can build energy and architecture around that avatar about who is this creative genius. So artworks tend to capture so much. Very few people judge, like in the mundane, the muggle world would judge an art piece. But writing, can I relate to the writing? Are the words synchronistic? Do they have a flow? So we feel, more judging of ourselves. So it goes in a circle, and maybe I lost the point a little bit there, but it's interesting to watch the creative in.
No, I understand. Because for most creative, it's so personal to put any piece of work, if it's writing or anything visual, it's so personal, because the fear of being judged and something that is your idea, and it's so precious. It's like having a baby and be worried that people will say, "Oh, that's ugly baby." You know,
Yes, yes, yeah.
it's so personal, and that's where it, we as a creatives, as artists, we need to learn to live with a healthy detachment to our projects, and to see it as a rose garden that we cultivate something and we bring it to the world, and then we let it go because we don't have control over how people perceive it, and we shouldn't take anything personally. But I think that it's the hardest thing that prevents people from keep creating, keep exploring, keep growing, but equally putting themselves out there and be really proud to be artists and present themselves like that.
Yes, yes. And if we use this metaphor as well, that if you imagine that everyone's perspective is like a grain of sand on a giant beach. And so when we create, we pick up a grain of sand and we mold it into our lens. And so the view that we look out from ourselves to the world is how we create. And so our judgment is, if I view the world this way, will others see it the same way? As a creative, no. It's really important to understand that everyone has a different vantage point. Everyone's lens or monocle perspective, lens through which they see their world, is slightly different. So the colors, the tones, all these sort of things will speak to the person there and their soul and their physicality and emotion. That's where you guys live, in language. Creatives speak the language of the soul, and that's really important to understand. The soul is multifaceted. Yeah.
Yes, very, very true. And I have an interesting experience to share. In my many business phases, I had 5 different businesses. I had the experience with photographers who would come and do the branding and take portraits of me. And I would find that each time with each portrait, it would reflect the mood of the photographer and the personality of the photographer.
Yeah,
It would
yes.
reflect me, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I often didn't like those photos, because I didn't really recognize me. But then you sort of match it with the person who was taking the photos, and that it's very much about their view, how they see the world, rather than trying to bring out the uniqueness in someone else.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty in creatives, and that's a great example that you just shared. See, what creatives do is they make their creation is to make the world more beautiful, is to make it's better flow. It's to bring a crystalline quality that is not heard naturally in the mundanity of people's lives by the ear or the sight to the eyes. So that's where people enroll themselves, like your background, that sort of thing. People go, oh wow, I love the freshness and the feel and the transfer of light or the life that's in it. And they get drawn to the stage. So a creative's genius is actually learning how to set the stage or stage the event. The event is when people engage the creative. And staging it means moving energy, like our last conversation, is investing enough energy and time and focus and intent. Intention is key on building some structure and framework and strength around your idea, so that when people experience it or come into contact with it, they have an emotion, they have a shift, they have an experience.
Yeah. And that brings me to the next question. I think you're going to love this one. So often creatives, and I'm saying creatives because this is mainly, helping creatives with entrepreneurship and how to get through the practicalities of life.
Mm-hmm.
So often the creatives are trying to do the thing like everyone else, to hustle, to copy someone else's, pattern, do the masterminds and things like that. And it doesn't work. And I see often that the mistake is that they rather try to learn things from, instead of looking inwards and really
Mm-hmm.
trying to learn about themselves and appreciate themselves and what makes them unique and what is their different point, and sort of be completely happy with their uniqueness and being different. They're trying to learn the ways of others, which are, you know, practical and they sort of work, but it's not for the longevity and it's not for the joy of creation either.
Yes, yeah, and what I hear, what I think I hear you saying is, we quite often creatives can get caught up in comparison,
Yes.
and well, that worked for someone else, so it's good. Maybe it'll work for me,
Mm-hmm.
and so they start to lose their individuality. They
Mm-hmm.
start to lose their zeal and their shine, to fit in to a model that
I think
that
that's where
maybe
the
is a bit
passion then
resistant.
leaks, you know, because then
Yes,
you're not creating from being unique and being really proud of your work and who you are.
yes.
You're trying to be someone else.
Yes, and well, if we just give a little scenario for a moment. Um, if you look out into the world and you're looking for a mentor, a coach, or a colleague, or some inspiration, look to all those elements that inspire you or that move you towards interest or curiosity. So someone might run a mastermind, someone else might do like art workshops, someone else might do, writing retreats as an example. And you think, well, I like aspects of all of those. They are the sum total of all parts of you. So your consciousness is reaching out and dialing into potential that is right for you. So you don't need to have just that one or just that one or just that. There could be a uniquely woven um, model that you acquire from several different aspects, but you make it your own. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's one key piece of the puzzle that keeps uniqueness alive inside of your ideas and your business projects.
So that really brings it back to the why you're doing it and why you
Yeah.
started in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. And quite often the why is that we want to feel heard. We want to express ourselves. We want to share with our genius with other people, like, and build a tribe or feel at home somewhere where we feel whole and natural and aligned,
Mm.
rather than any past that may still be having clinging particles to us of doubt or fear or overwhelm or judgment, those sort of things. So we are seeking aspects of ourselves in our customers, and you may notice this in your business and those people watching as well, that look at your customers, look at your clients, look at those people that invest in themselves with you. There
Mm.
is a consciousness and a vibration in all of those people that are either a bandwidth that you have just moved into or a bandwidth that you are ready to move out of.
Mm. And
Okay.
that's a good one because often it changes how we vibrate and who we resonate with. And
Mm.
there is that sense of attachment, or when, you know, if someone decides to move on or you just don't vibe with that particular theme anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It For creative, it's really hard to detach and emotionally detach and abandon the thought and sort of move on because you have invested in yourself emotionally so much, financially, and often the fear of being judged and sort of seen, oh, like, what are they doing now, and that kind of moving on
Mm.
can be seen as a negative thing. Do you think that's something that stops people from healthy grow and really live
Yes.
healthily?
Yes. We have been taught and ingrained to, you know,
Not
have a
change.
job and not change.
Yes.
We've been taught to stay in a system.
Mm.
We've been taught to think linearly and, follow the rules and to get pats on the back and get rewards monetarily or accolades or whatever it may be. But what our soul is, especially for creatives, although there's two things. One is you may bounce around for the next shiny star or the next opportunity in the hope that this is it. You're not actually pursuing dreams, you're running away from failures. That's all that you're doing.
Mm.
So when you can forgive yourself for what you feel are failures and you can then embrace the genius that you are, you are then bringing the opportunities and the potential in your universe, in your field of potential to you. So that's one way. The other way is, well, maybe all of my ideas belong in one basket. I just haven't expanded my view to link them together and make them simple. Because the simplest ideas are the best.
I'm sort of hearing a lot of self-compassion, the importance of self-compassion, and what we have discussed in the first recording. Give the ideas time to incubate, because sometimes there is simply not the right time for the idea. Sometimes it takes have a go at it and fail and maybe develop it over a few years, and then it sort of just naturally happens. I think that's where it's important to keep the lightness and the open mind to sort of whatever happens, and sort of go with the flow, being in the flow.
Yes, like if you are a very talented interior designer, for instance, but you have no idea how to make a house. You don't learn how to build houses or construct buildings. You go and partner and intersect, create a golden thread with someone who can give you the canvas for you to work your magic. So quite often as a creative, we think, well, we need to, by owning it, we need to keep it to ourselves, and it needs just to be with us. So another previous client of mine had soul flakes, or has soul flakes, and she does these beautiful art pieces, now evolved into jewelry and artwork. And did she think that she needed to go to markets and do direct selling and all the rest initially? And I said, there's a better way. Someone already has your customer. So now she has her art in all of these beautiful boutique stores that are aligned with the consciousness of the customer. So you don't put, some soul reflection, healing, transformational art piece inside, a library. You put it into where it's going to be appreciated and experienced, and it's going to meet your end customer where they are at. It's going to meet them halfway and do some of the inspiration with them.
And that's a great point, Matt, because so many people don't actually appreciate their art and put the right value on it where it belongs. And I think it's quite healthy to try to do deconstructed creating, if you like. Like deconstructed cake, for example, where it's really good to look up the parts of creativity and the whole process and almost start from the end. So look at the, where ideally you would like to end up. If it's either like mini manufacturing and sort of, serial production of something that will, bring the income and connect you and bring you fulfillment, because you're producing something, people are loving it, but you're also making money. Which is
yes.
So many people don't look at the end results, because in a way they don't trust their creation, and they're afraid to think big or even dream for themselves that they can do something like that and do something totally outrageous and just approach someone and start a conversation.
You have touched on such an amazing point. That is actually part of the chrysalis phase. To start with your end in mind, and you reverse engineer it back from there. But it's not, the end in mind does not mean the money or the fame or the customer or the reach or the impact. It actually starts with you. And a lot of people, especially creatives, because there's so much emotion woven into your ideas, that we leave ourselves last, not second or third on the list, but it's last. And so in order to create a future that runs towards you, you must be clear about what it is that you want to experience for the self. And so does that mean that you'd like to be doing around the world travel? Does it mean that you want to be having expos? Or what does it mean for you without the how involved? That's a very key piece to building a phenomenally successful business, but a richly rewarding enterprise, with a personal enterprise for the self. Yeah.
Is that where you come in with businesses? Is this where you help people to find the clarity and help them to move towards sort of bold action, if you like?
Yes, yeah, and amongst other things. It really is to say, if you imagine two bookends, you can say, where are you and where do you want to be? All the stuff in the middle is actually part of the transformation process. So if you can define both ends, where you are now, and be very honest with yourself, you know, and you can
That's the hard bit, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and you can define your outcome or your desires with precision and clarity and crystalline sort of qualities, and own them. Then the stuff in the middle can be strategic. It can be manufactured and all these sort of things along the way. But it's a lot easier. A lot easier.
But you need the one thing, the honesty with yourself, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. The
So
honesty.
I have a lot of friends who are incredibly talented artists, but they don't create. They are scared of creating, and they are self-sabotaging where it's possible, because I just feel that they don't feel deserving,
Yes.
and it makes
Yeah.
me really sad.
Yeah. It is. This is another thing that, with creatives, what we want to paint or write or move into the world as a creative aspect of ourselves is free to do so, but it's bound and kept small because of our beliefs.
Yes.
And our beliefs are borrowed. They're not ours. They are given to us, acquired through, the system, through parenting, through schooling, through government, through education, all these sorts of things. Your beliefs are not yours until they are. So
Until
if until they
until
are.
until you take the ownership of
Yes. And you
everything.
can sort of say, do I really believe that I am a failure? Well, yeah, I do. I can stack all this merit and all this proof against me. Do I believe that I am successful and a high functioning creative, that I am a genius with art or with whatever it may be? Yes, there's a possibility there. I am engaging in the possibilities rather than the probabilities of my past. Yeah.
And that is really sole point for a lot of creatives. A lot of creatives, they just keep themselves small, and I don't know how else to describe it. There is a world that would benefit so much from the beauty that they have to contribute to the humanity, because I really believe that art connects humanity and human connection. In the age
Wonderful.
when we are probably the most isolated and lonely we ever been in the human history.
Yes.
Um, and I feel that art has the power to drag people out of their homes and connect and meet and interact and have fun and be playful as adults. Something we have lost along the way.
Yes, yes. And as you were talking and sharing, I had this vision that it's like everything that you create is an aspect of your soul's expression. And I mention soul a lot because the work that we all do is soul work.
It
We
is.
go into, so how you decorate a room as a designer is a picture of your soul, metaphorically. How you paint, how you potter, how you write, whatever it may be, how you present from stage is a reflection, is an aspect of your soul. And so that's what we're actually afraid of. And you brought up a beautiful point that art connects us to who we really are, but connects us to humanity and each other. Whereas we've been taught to be separate, separated from whether you want to call it the universe, from God, from ourselves, from our own personal love.
And also it's
So
competitive. Really competitive
yes,
with each other.
yeah, and the value, the the belief that artists are broke or that musicians are poor.
Yeah.
You know, it's a belief. It's a construct that has been inserted and made wrong, or made right conversely for those people that enroll themselves in that thinking. So we just want to be valued. However, until we can value ourselves and value our creations, seldom will we find the depth of value and appreciation from others. So it starts at home. It always starts at home.
It does, yeah. And on that note, I'll end up our lovely conversation. Thank you so much for diving into the depths of, creative process and all the real pains and frustrations and fears people have, that prevent them to move on in life and really live vibrant, curious life that is connected with the environment and with each other. So thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Most welcome, Petra. Wonderful as always.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to chat next time about the other issues that we have to explore.
Yes, I'm sure we'll go deep and we'll get there pretty quickly too.
Yes, so very exciting. Thank you, Matt.
Nice one. Thanks, Petra.